Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1, action.
Assume nothing.
Brash, bald-faced blasphemy.
Question everything.
I find it extremely hard to imagine.
Open your eyes.
It is quite all right to be an atheist.
The fastest growing group of people in the country has been measured as being those who have no belief or who are atheists.
You don't have to be apologetic or quiet about it.
Challenge the opposition.
You see religion on 100 fronts losing the argument.
And start thinking. This is The Thinking Atheist Worldwide.
Our broadcast today brought to you by NatureBox. NatureBox ships tasty and guilt-free snacks right to your front door with over 100 different flavors to choose from, like apple pie oat clusters, the Kung Pao pretzels, Fuji apples, cherry berry bonanza, and more. You'll never get bored of snacking again. Try NatureBox for free. Just go to naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. Shelley Segal has been called by Beat magazine someone whose voice is an enchanting, knowing croon with brilliant pop melodies. She was raised in a traditional Jewish culture. I got to know more about this, Shelley. And she found herself an atheist with a new zest for life and a message of encouragement for the rest of us. In fact, if you go to a convention here or there, quite often in the intermission or before or after speakers, or people are just hanging out at the bar, you will hear Shelley's music in the background. Shelley, you're sort of the unofficial soundtrack of free thought conventions. Did you ever see that would happen?
Growing up in a Jewish wedding band, I definitely did not see that coming.
Tell me about that. I mean, was it hardcore Orthodox Jewish culture? Everybody walking around observing the Sabbath and observing this. Fuck, I can't finish a sentence tonight. Right? God, do you ever have those days? Ever since I came back from Vancouver, I took the overnight, I took the red eye, right? I can't sleep on a plane. I was up all night, all the next day, and then most of the next night I just couldn't sleep. And so now I feel great, but I'm just loopy. So please forgive me. So let me try that question again. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Shelley, was it an Orthodox Jewish background that you came from? Tell me about your childhood.
It was quite a bit of a mix, really. So at home, my parents and my brother had more of a liberal lifestyle, so liberal level of observance, like following all the festivals and Friday night dinner and a certain level of kosher dietary laws in the home. And we always had to wait like a few hours between eating meat and milk, which was annoying when you're a kid. You're like, I want ice cream after dinner. You know, not too intense in the level of observance in my family. In my more extended family, we have people who are of an Orthodox level of observance, and I went to a liberal Jewish school, so again, quite involved with Judaism, and I did Hebrew classes, so I learned to speak Hebrew. We had religious camps, and it was a big part of my life. I also went to a synagogue, so my family's part of the Orthodox synagogue in the city in Melbourne, where I'm from. So even though we didn't live that lifestyle, we went to the Orthodox synagogue, and that's where they had the gender segregation in the synagogue. So the women would sit upstairs and the men would sit downstairs, and the women were allowed to lead the service or read from the Torah, the Old Testament, which was like the main part of the ceremony. And also I went to a Jewish Zionist youth group called Hubbo that I was part of, and it taught kids about Israel and about Judaism and self-realization with those things mixed in. And I was part of that for quite a few years. I even taught other children as part of the youth group.
Now, as a musician, are you leading youth services? Are they like, oh, Shelley, bring your guitar, we're going to sing songs about our God, that kind of thing?
Not so much at the youth group. It was more just about games and activities. And but I did do and I still do with my father. We play at Jewish old folks' homes together, and for that I still will play some old Jewish music, because I know that's the language that means a lot to those people, and it gives them a lot of joy. So even though I don't identify with it in the same way, I still do play that music. And then with my father and his function band, I played at a lot of Jewish weddings and bar mitzvahs, and helping the community celebrate their special events. So that was my background. That was as a introduction to music, and also very rich in a Jewish culture.
I don't suppose you'd play a second or two of a traditional Hebrew song on the radio. Come on, well, if
Sure.
you step into the retirement home, I'm lying there, I'm 80 years old, I'm just needing some comfort and some companionship, and there's Shelley with her guitar. What would you play for me?
We would play a song called Shir LaShalom, which means a song of peace. And it's in Hebrew, because Tnu LaShemesh la'alot laboker le'ha'ir Chazaka shebatfilot otanu lo tachzir miyasher kevanero u'be'afar nitman bechima lo yairo lo yachziro lekhan.
All right, that's a date. When I'm in the old folks' home, and I'm totally lying there, and I've got my teeth in the little glass, and I'm watching reruns of some old game show or whatnot, I'm going to have you come over and sing that song. All right. What's the song about? What's the message of the tune? It's a religious song.
Yeah, but it's more talking about peace.
Words of comfort.
The sun may rise, and there's not. It's not as religious as some of the other songs. But,
are you translating the Hebrew? When I see you look up, you're like, okay, what's the word say again?
Yeah, I'm trying to work it out. It's funny you sing, and that's part of, I think, what helped me not question a long time as well, is because you're learning so many prayers and so many songs in a different language. And even though I was learning Hebrew and I was speaking Hebrew, you don't make that translation in the moment in your head. So I could recite pretty much like an hour and a half worth of prayers right now still that I learned, but I didn't really think about what they meant while I was saying them. It was more like a song, learning a song.
There's a little bit of a lag. I hope it doesn't persist when you're performing. I know this is the nature of internet broadcasting, but you brought your guitar, you're in a studio, you are celebrating the release of a new album called
Strange Feeling.
Talk to me. What's Strange Feeling about? Is it like some kind of a concept thing? Is there a specific theme or message that you want to try to get out this time around? No,
it's been it's really open, and that's been something really fun, because I've had a concept album before, and then a collaborative album. So this is really I've got 5 songs. It's an EP, and had a lot of time this year with this one, more than I've had on any other project. And it was really about creating a sound that was an amalgamation of all of my influences. So as I was saying before, I grew up in a wedding band. So throughout the night, you sing all different styles. You sing pop, dance, jazz in the background when everyone's eating, and blues and pop. And so I really just wanted to mix all those influences together. And the EP, what we called it Strange Feeling, that's the name of one of the tracks as well. But it's, talking about a feeling. Each of the songs is about a different relationship at a different point. And it's about kind of capturing and reflecting on the feeling that was created by that relationship and that stage in the relationship. All right. Well, would you want to grab a track from the album and perform it for a live online audience during the broadcast? Because we'd love to hear it. Yeah, I'd love to. All right, pick one. At your discretion. We're at your disposal tonight. Cool. This song was written Maybe I'll say at the end, and then I can leave it a bit open to interpretation. This song is called Background Noises.
Told me I was home. I used to carry them in my ears, but now inside my head it's all alone. I took your soundtrack off my shelf. I'm making room for somebody else. It's your color coding I'd like to forget and be somebody else. What happened to these walls? What's down these corridors that I don't recognize? What happened to our bed, the place we laid our head for over 10 years? I took your soundtrack off my shelf. I'm making room for somebody else. It's your color coding I'd like to forget and be somebody else. Oh, 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 to be somebody else, to be somebody, oh, 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 to be somebody else, to be somebody else. I took your soundtrack off my shelf. I'm making room for somebody else. It's your color coding I'd like to forget and be somebody else's.
I dig it. I dig it. Of course, I'm a little bit biased because Shelley and I are friends, and I've been a fan of hers since I first heard your music just a few years ago. We had a chance to sort of run into you during the Unholy Trinity tour in Australia, which was an amazing thing. You, of course, reside in Australia. Is that right?
Yes, hometown of Melbourne, as you say.
You make fun of me because I use the R because I'm from Oklahoma. We put R's in everything, right? So we went to Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. And, of course, it's say it for me correctly.
Melbourne?
Melbourne.
That's right. And you got that accent when you say it.
I need some help. I need some work. So how does a Jewish kid, how does a person who's raised with all these traditions and whatnot, I mean, how do you get to a point where you're essentially, I know you don't want to be, I wouldn't want to pigeonhole you as an atheist artist. You're an artist, but you happen to speak about themes that resonate with those who are on that kind of journey. Many of us have come out of. Yeah, I mean, so tell me about your journey.
I'm happy to identify that way. I was in this very religious community and culture, and it was something that was a huge part of my life. And when I was 16, I learned about evolution in biology class because I really liked animals. That's why I took biology class. So I'm really glad I did that. And that was the first time that I learnt something that questioned, the biblical account of creation. That was the first time I ever thought about the fact that maybe the way I had come to understand the world might not literally be true. And there were many points along the next couple of years that kind of made me question things. But ultimately, traveling, I was 19, and meeting so many different people with so many different worldviews, and then understanding that mine was just one of many worldviews that was equally deserving of criticism. That was the main thing that helped me to become an atheist and realize I didn't believe in the story that I had been told, or in my religion either. I thought, this isn't for me anymore. And then as I had some time and distance away from my religion, I started to take issue with some of the teachings, particularly the way that my religion talked about women, and the way that I had been told a story that wasn't verified, when there was such a better explanation out there, and it hadn't been given to me. I hadn't been taught, I hadn't been given the critical thinking skills to be able to analyse my own beliefs. And so, I guess I became quite passionate about my atheism and secularism, and I started going to some conferences. I started doing some secular activism with a group here in Melbourne called Progressive Atheists, and it started to come out in my music, because I've been writing songs since I was 11 now, and I always write about my own experiences. I feel like, I don't know, I guess in a way sometimes it's therapeutic. You get something outside that's inside you out, and that's a way of kind of looking at it and detaching yourself from it, analysing and reflecting on it. So that also, it's a way of sharing what you've learnt through your own reflections and experiences. So because I was so immersed in this new way of looking at the world, and it was so significant to me, and I was having these great discussions with people and just really, really stimulated mentally, that just started to come out, all these songs about my new worldview. And I thought, how great to have a whole album where I could talk about all my opinions on this topic, and also at the same time associate a word like atheism, which, in the wider society has these connotations of being cold and detached and, uncaring, or, how it can be perceived, to put it with something creative like art and music.
So, Mom and Dad, come on, I mean, right? They had plans. They had introduced you to God. You had a relationship. They were so proud. How did that go? Or do they really address it with you?
It was really difficult at first. I'm very, very close with my family, and they're incredibly supportive. But it was a very difficult time for us.
I mean, you have a new album, right? So this would normally be a time where Mom and Dad would be like, oh, we're so proud, it's just so amazing and whatnot. But if they are believers and you are not, and you are directly challenging a sacred belief, religious belief, worldview, whatever, it's sort of a complicated little scenario there, huh?
Yeah, it was. And it started even before I'd, written the album, and before I'd begun the recording process. We had this, complete difference in worldview. I remember they wanted to have my 21st birthday at the synagogue, and I was trying to explain to them why I didn't want it there, and how much that would upset me, and how much, I didn't identify with those beliefs anymore. And it was quite a difficult time. I was still very young, and I was pretty angry as well. I wasn't, as articulate with my ideas as I would have liked to be, and they were shocked and hurt as well. So it wasn't a good combination. We didn't communicate very well at that time. I remember walking around the house reading from an Old Testament out loud, look what's in here. It says this, it says this, it says this, and it's awful. And I would just, it was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing at that time. But eventually, I got better at explaining myself, and they started to take it less as a personal attack. on them and their beliefs. And when I was doing an Atheist album, I sat down with my dad, who's the president of the synagogue in our city now, and we went through every track, went through lyric by lyric by lyric, and I explained to him, this is why I'm saying this is what I believe, and this is why I think that you believe this too, and we found the places in our worldview where we converged, where our beliefs converged. And my father believes in equal rights for women, and so when I explain my criticism of doctrine through that perspective, he's able to understand. And while there may be explanations that he accepts from the tradition, from the Jewish tradition, of why it's not oppressive or sexist, but his goal for equality is the same as mine. So it was really a unique experience getting to go through every single line with him and explain to him what I meant. And
do you know how amazing that is and how rare it is? I mean, I understand the frustration of dealing with a highly emotional issue in terms of the information. Right? So many of us have gone to our loved ones and our friends and coworkers and said, we hold up the Bible, right? We open it up to the chapter and verse and we say, did you see this? That this is horrible. Can you believe this is in here? And it's like it bounces right off. They're not, they don't. And I think it's because they had fallen in. I'm doing a presentation around the country called I Love the Idea. I think it's because we tend to fall in love with the ideas of something more than the facts of something in many cases. And many of those people I know, it's a cherished belief. It's like a child, a loved one, And so the fact that you guys could go and find those intersections, those moments of common ground and celebrate those is freaking amazing. I mean, that's just... Unfortunately, it's too rare. It's too rare.
Yeah, I know. I'm so lucky in that regard. I've met so many people, especially touring around the US, that have not had that experience of support and not be able to have those discussions because it's just, instant rejection. If you reject what we believe, then we reject you. And I think that's so awful. And I don't think that's... A lot of people don't think of their beliefs as being divisive. It's supposed to cherish family, but it ends up being quite the opposite. The other thing that was really amazing was I got to play at the Global Atheist Convention in 2012, and that was put on by the Atheist Foundation of Australia, the same organisation that brought you over to Australia.
Weren't there like 2,500 people there? I mean, it wasn't just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It was an incredible conference, and at that point, I brought my mum as well to that conference, and I think I don't want to speak on her behalf, but she is no longer a believer. Well, that is very much speaking on her behalf, but yeah. Anyway, so
I understand. Well, at the very least, if she gets a chance to meet people who are non-believers, or at the very least they're questioning, and she sees that they're beautiful people, they're fun and funny, and they hug and they love each other and they laugh and they want to make the world a better place. It breaks down barriers in all these ways. It's hard to describe how it breaks down barriers, but it really does. I see it time and time again. If you say, oh, the atheist, and they're over in this building over here, it's easy to sort of draw a caricature of them, but if you go and you meet them and you see them and you are able to sort of acknowledge them in 3 dimensions, it changes how you perceive the non-believer. Not to put words in your mouth, but I mean, you know what I mean? She went and hung out with infidels and said, hey, these people aren't so bad, right?
Yeah. And I think for her, a big part of it was the speakers. My mum is really smart. She loves reading. She just, has never really been given ideas that kind of challenge what she believed. And so for her to be in that environment that, she's hearing those ideas directly and being affected by them in real time, it was, and just, one speaker after another really, really impacted her. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying about seeing people, that atheists being normalized, and that way of life being normalized. I when I was 17 or 18, I started dating a non-Jewish guy, and that was also like a very difficult time for my family because traditionally, it's called marrying out if you don't end up with a Jewish person. So that was a bit stressful for my family, but I ended up moving in with my partner and his family, and they were atheists. They didn't call themselves atheists, but they were secular people. They lived secular lives. They made decisions based on logic and reasoning, which I remember thinking was very strange. Why don't you just go with how you feel? But yeah, it was so nice to see a family like that didn't have religion in their lives, but they were warm and caring and beautiful, kind people that made their way in the world according to their own beliefs and their own ideas about what was right and wrong. And I think that was a really positive thing for me to be around and to see.
I do have a request. I'm the host of the show. I can indulge myself, right?
Yes.
I was hoping you might play for the radio audience I Don't Believe in Fairies tonight, because the lyrics really resonate with me. Would that be all right?
Yeah, that would be nice.
All right. It's all yours.
I don't believe in fairies. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in vampires hungry for our throats. I don't believe in demons or witches that can fly. I don't believe in dragons. I think they're all alive. So when I'm in the dark, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of creations imaginations have made. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in Zeus. I don't believe in Allah. I think they have no use. I don't believe in Adam. I don't believe in Eve. I don't believe in talking snakes. I think they're make-believe. So when I'm in the dark place, in a dark place, I know it's only me and what I face. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe that we are children who need to fear to behave well. I don't believe in salvation. I don't believe in sin. I don't believe it will be easy, but but I believe that reason can win. So when I'm in the dark, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of creations imaginations have made. When I'm in the dark, in a dark place, in a dark place, I know it's only me and what I face.
The album is called An Atheist album. I love that song. I'm not sure if it's the haunting chord progressions in there or the way you sing it, but you know, when I hear you, when I'm in a dark place and I know it's only me and what I face, I go back in time to, you know, a sort of a crossroads where I'm thinking about, you know, coming to a point of rejection of the stuff that I used to think was true beyond measure, true with a capital T, absolutely, irrefutably true. And here I am looking at this whole crazy new world outside of that truth, beyond that truth, you know, and it was an exhilarating, weird, dark, fantastic, wonderful, terrifying thing.
Yeah.
Is that about you? Is that song about you in some way?
Yeah, that's you know, really resonating with what you're saying. Everyone's got the, you know, a different color on it, but it was this thing that in some ways was so scary, yet at the same time empowering, because it put everything back on you, and it was so empowering to be able to say that out loud, to talk about these ideas and these concepts and constructs that you felt were so real, that they're tangible. You could talk to them, you could engage with him, or, you know, your own, whatever interpretation of it you had, and then suddenly you had the strength and the ability and the freedom to compare them to fairies and dragons and vampires, and, you know, that you could say that. It was very liberating.
Did you ever fear being wrong? Did you ever fear hell? Any of those things? I mean, does the Jewish culture at all do they do hell?
No, there's not much. There's not much hellfire in Judaism.
Part of me thinking is it, if you don't accept God and you are raised in a Jewish home and you are accepting, whether it's Orthodox Jewish belief or not, is it just separation? If you aren't one of God's children, what happens to you?
I think it's really varied, you know, depending on the family, depending on the strain of Judaism. I think in a lot of communities that are more secular, you will face just as much shunning if you say you marry out, if you don't continue on the tradition, because the tradition is almost more or as important as belief in God. That was something I realized, you know, during my process of leaving my religion. You know, you're kind of going through the core beliefs, and as you reject certain ideas, you don't realize that you have a religious worldview. You just have all these beliefs, and one by one they're being challenged. You think, oh no, that's not true, and you don't really necessarily see them all as being connected. And after I'd let go of all my religious beliefs and everything I would say was a core belief of Judaism, the idea that I was Jewish and that was a huge part of my identity and something that I should never let go of was the last core belief that I actually gave up on. And I didn't realize how strong that was, that actually that was a stronger belief than my own belief in God or heaven or any of the other core beliefs of the religion.
I interact with a lot of secular Jews. They enjoy the traditions. They enjoy being able to participate in the culture of Judaism without embracing the supernatural aspect. This sounds like something that would be attractive to you. Yes? No? No, you were just done. I'm out.
Yeah. I mean, it took a while. My mum still feels that way, you know. My mum doesn't believe anymore, but she goes to the synagogue. She enjoys the service. She enjoys the tradition. She enjoys the community. For me, maybe I'm still in an angry phase, I don't know, but all I see is the damage, you know. I just see, I can't go to the synagogue even to watch my father perform there because I'm a woman, so I have to, you know, stand separately, and I just see the things that are harmful in it, so I don't engage with it because I find it very frustrating, and it's their space, they can do what they want there, and if I go, I'll just probably start yelling, which is not a good idea. But also, there's so much that I do like about the culture. I love the idea of community. I like the support that people provide for each other. I just wish that we as humans would have that level of support for each other in our communities, but maybe based on our proximity to each other. You know, we all live in this community, so we'll take care of each other. Not we'll take care of each other because we have this shared bloodline or we have this shared belief. So I tend to see that a bit.
Yeah, it's a very tribalistic thing, isn't it? We are God's chosen people, right? We are special with a capital S. It would be hard for many to walk away from that, right? I was handpicked by the creator of the universe to be one of his quote-unquote chosen people. Of course, if you look how the Jews have been treated over the years, you know, you think, boy, you know, I'm not sure I would want to be God's chosen people, right?
Yeah, well, the joke is, who would choose this?
Yeah, who would choose that? You don't seem angry to me. You got a fire in your belly? I mean, you got moments where you just get good and pissed off? Come on.
I do, definitely. And that's
what
where...
rings your bell? What this has to do with damage. You mentioned the word damage. What are we talking about? What rings that bell inside you?
The last thing I remember, you know, at the moment, there's still a big debate about marriage equality in my country, in Australia. We don't have marriage equality yet in any states. And, you know, the Rabbinical Council of Victoria, the rabbis of Victoria and New South Wales will send a letter of recommendation to the government to not vote for marriage equality, that is not in the interests of this religion. And they say that they speak for anybody that identifies as Jewish. And I just think that, you know, you're perpetuating harm and you're perpetuating discrimination, and that really gets me going. The last time, as I said, I don't really engage with with the religious side of my community anymore because it does get me too upset. I remember just being in the synagogue this last time. I went for an event that was very special to my father. I went to support him, and I had to sit upstairs, you know, and I just felt awful. I was just sitting there crying, feeling so, feeling so awful that I would allow myself to be segregated in this way, and that everyone around me just felt that it was just, you know, that it was fine, and even trying to explain to my family why I don't think it's fine and what the problems that I find that are inherent in that kind of, you know, gender roles and gender segregation, and they're not really understanding where I come from. I get very frustrated.
The woman will not be caged. She will not be held back, people. She's going to break free, and she's going to write albums about it. Play me something from the new album. Just
actually, I was just thinking we should talk about Eve, because maybe I should play Eve because of what we were just talking about.
You want to play Eve on the radio?
I'll
I'll sit back and let you have the stage. Go for it.
Sure. So this song is about that. The certain verses in the Old and New Testament that talk about women's roles, home and society, and it's very prescribed. I have a lot of memories as a young Jewish woman where I did sort of, even though I didn't question the religion as a whole, I questioned this particular part of the tradition. So there was one prayer we said every morning as primary school students. It was a call and response between the girls and the boys, and the boys would say in Hebrew, "Dear God, thank you for not making me a woman." And we would answer with, "Dear God, thank you for making me what I am." There's a law in Orthodox Judaism where women and men, unless they're married, are not allowed to touch. You know, so I couldn't. The rabbi would come over to our house and shake my father's hand and shake my brother's hand. He couldn't shake my hand. I'd do it like an air high five kind of thing. But it's just this idea that there's something inherently different about you because of something that you were born with that is beyond your control, and it defines who you are and in a very prescribed way according to this scripture. So this song is little flashes what it was like for me as a young woman in Judaism, but also from experiences I've heard from other people. This is called Eve.
The Bible tells me I was made for and from man, and I must do for him everything that I can. I must surrender to his will. I must submit. I can't make the household decisions 'cause I am unfit. It tells me my place with everlasting grace. The Bible tells me I must be silent, you can't hear my voice. My role has been divinely defined, and I have no other choice. I may not be a teacher of man, I must cover up my shame. These are the laws of the one who in vain I cannot name. He tells me my place with everlasting grace. And my punishment for wanting to learn is a painful birth from which I may not return. The Bible tells me that I am unclean. I am impure, you cannot touch me. And it has nothing to do with where I've been. It is part of who I am. It is because I corrupt man. I was asking for it just by being a woman. He tells me my place with everlasting grace. And my punishment for wanting to learn is a painful birth from which I may not return. The Bible tells me I was made for and from man, and I must do for him everything that I can. I must surrender to his will. I must submit. I can't make the household decisions 'cause I am unfit. It tells me my place with everlasting grace. Yeah, it tells me my place with everlasting grace.
You know, it was always funny when we would talk about the Adam and Eve story, speaking of Eve. It was always the woman's fault.
Yeah.
Adam's just hanging out in the garden, right? Eve is tempted. She's the one who goes and tempts Adam. If it wasn't for Eve, we wouldn't have had any of this trouble. You know what I'm saying? That was sort of the over, even if they didn't preach it overtly, it was the underlying message, right?
Yeah.
Eve was the weak one. She was the cause of all this trouble. And, you know, that's powerful when you're dealing with self-esteem, identity, the types of conversations that we all go through. But, if you're told that your gender is essentially responsible for the screwing up of the world, I mean, that's going to sting. My mother used to teach my sisters the scriptures about the reason that childbirth was so painful was because Eve, it's right.
Well, that's one of the lyrics in the song. So, if you think about it, firstly, we're a force, and you're blamed for a sin that you haven't committed personally. It's a transmissible sin, but the punishment was from eating from the tree of knowledge. So God doesn't want you to have knowledge, and what else is there as valuable in this world as knowledge? And God doesn't want us to have knowledge, and so in a way we're being punished for wanting to learn. And that's the chorus of my song, is saying, my punishment for wanting to learn is a painful birth from which I may not return, because birth will be difficult as punishment for Eve's transgressions. So every woman that's died in childbirth, every child that hasn't made it through childbirth is a direct punishment of that sin that we didn't even commit. So it's a pretty awful idea, really.
Shelley Segal, we are broadcasting a video version of this podcast for the Patreon supporters who have been so kind to sort of support this show, which has, as of late, become my full-time gig. And so we've got a few people who are sort of watching the exchange as this is happening. And I had Rich send a message via chat that said this: my daughter Haley would like to ask if you have any advice for a burgeoning singer and atheist. She's starting high school next year, and she wants to know, I'd like to make a difference. I would like to cultivate my talent. I would like to sing, maybe even sing for a living. What would you say to someone? I'm sure you've had many people ask you. What do you say? How do you respond?
I think that's awesome. If you know that's what you want to do, it's good to start as soon as possible. And really, is Haley there? Can I talk to her?
Are you guys live? There you are.
Hey, guys.
I don't know. Is there a microphone on your side or just the camera?
Yeah, I can't hear.
I don't hear you guys. Hang on. Well, I sort of put them on the spot. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I did too.
I didn't know that they had intended. I think they just sent the message via chat. So I'll let you just respond on video.
Cool. I think, the earlier that you can get started, the better. And I guess in terms of writing music and singing music, what's really worked for me is to make the music that is as real to you as possible. Like, some people might have a different approach, but that's really worked for me. Like, I write about my experiences and my thoughts and my reflections, and I feel like I'm able to play with it because it's something that I understand. And then also, to make the kind of music that you would want to hear, not to think, I'm going to make what other people want to hear and what other people are like. If you make something that you would want to sit down to and listen to when you were having a bad day or when you wanted to feel excited, that's what drives me to make the sounds that I want to hear, and to have the ideas in music that I would want to hear myself. So that's my approach to that. And I guess in terms of performing and getting out there, you want to do that as soon as possible. Find other people that you can play with. Do you play any instruments? Nope.
I see her shaking her head.
Do you have any friends that play any instruments?
I feel like we're pantomiming here. It's like first word, two syllables. All right. She pointed to her father, Rich. So if Dad plays and she sings, that sounds like you guys should hit the road.
Yeah, I grew up singing with my dad. It's really nice to be able to make music together. It's the best thing ever. But yeah, I mean, maybe learn an instrument, or it's new technology these days. You can get a computer program that can play beats and chords for you, and just practice writing, practice performing, and try and get out there as much as you can so that you feel really comfortable, and then you can work out, like, what do I want to do here? What do I want to say here? And how do I want to perform? And How do I want to express myself? So yeah, just practice, and getting out there as much as you can, I think, is really good. And it's so nice you've got the support of your dad. You're lucky.
How difficult is it in the business, though, Shelley? I mean, you never want to kill a dream, but I also know that there are squillions of people who are attempting to do what you do.
It's really, really hard. And it's hard because you don't feel so strong about yourself every day. Like everyone in the world, you have days where you feel better about yourself and you think, yeah, everyone should listen to what I have to say. I've got something really important to say. And then some days you don't feel that good about yourself and you think, oh, maybe I should just, keep going and let someone else say it. Maybe there's no reason that I should have to be saying these things. And it's true, there's no reason why you should have a voice more than anyone else. So sometimes it's hard to maintain that dedication and perseverance to something when you're not getting much feedback, because there's a lot when you're not getting too many successes, there's a long period where it's just slogging. So I think I try and hold on to, why I want to do this, why I want my career to be a musician. And it's because of those initial moments I had playing music with my dad at weddings and bar mitzvahs, and seeing how happy it made people, and seeing that music is a soundtrack to people's lives, and you can contribute to people in that way. You can give people something really special, which is a unique experience. And as long as you always have amazing creating that for yourself, so you're always performing, you're always going back that space where you create what means something to you, and you hold on to that idea, and you hold that on through even the bad days where you don't feel so good about yourself. This is why I'm doing this. And another reason for me that I keep doing it is because I love the idea of being part of the chain of music. So, Alanis Morissette or Ani DeFranco, or the kind of singer-songwriters, Ben Harper, Lee Joel, that gave me a message, that said something to me that nobody else could say, that's something that I felt and thought but couldn't put into words, or something that I'd never considered, that changed my life, that changed the way I thought about things, that changed the way I approached things for what I believe to be the better. So had an actual impact in the world, tangible impact in changing the world. I want to be part of that chain. And when I get back, one message of support from somebody that listened to my album, particularly with an Atheist album, because it's something that is so important to me and was such an intense and significant experience, when someone writes back to me and says that was the way, they saw the world reflected in music and what that meant to them, just hearing that once is enough to keep going through the days when you don't feel so good about it. Or when the difficulties of it kind of catch up with you.
I know we didn't have a microphone, but Rich and Haley, just wave so that we can see your beautiful cherub faces on the broadcast. I have a few more people with some questions for you, and then I definitely want to hear some more music tonight. I'm just going to keep you on the hook as long as I can, Shelley. You good for time?
Yeah, easy, no worries.
Real fast, if you'll indulge me, I do want to say a huge thanks out to the organization sponsoring the broadcast tonight. Of course, it is Nature Box. Now, here's the truth. I came back from Imagine No Religion 5 in Vancouver this last weekend, right? I had Seattle and then Vancouver back to back. I'm gone about 5 days maybe. My Nature Box comes in the mail. There's 5 packs in there, right? 5 packs of the snacks in there. And I come back and there's these. This is it. That's all that's left, because my stepdaughter opened up the bag and just ate pretty much everything. I mean, she devoured it because she digs it. Freaking 17-year-old kid, she's eating my stuff. But that's a testament to the fact that Nature Box really does taste good. I appreciate the support that Nature Box has given this broadcast. Essentially, just delicious, healthy snacks. Over 100 different crave-worthy options to choose from online. They just added some new flavors like mini Belgian waffles, strawberry lemonade fruit stars, and sweet and salty nut medley, and they are delicious. 0 grams trans fats, 0 artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, and a great way to support this show. So thanks to Nature Box, and thanks to you. If you haven't tried them and you'd like to, a free trial can start Now you can just go to naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. All right, let's go to Tom. Tom, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You are on with Shelley Segal tonight. What do you have for us?
Hey, Shelley. I'm really happy that Seth introduced you and brought you on the air. It's really exciting. I'm actually a classically trained musician. I'm based out of Boston now. I'm going to graduate school there. And, it's nice to finally meet another atheist musician. Everyone that kind of surrounds me in the culture tends to be religious, especially in classical music. I always find myself working for these churches. So I just wanted to see if you had any recommendations about how you kind of deal with religious groups as an atheist musician, especially considering they're my main form of employment, especially at school.
Yeah, I guess, I really, especially in a working environment, as a musician, I feel like, and maybe you agree, that, your job is to provide the music, the soundtrack to their experience. So, if it's for something that you feel you can't be part of ethically, that's up to you. But if it's, just about providing a certain musical background to their experience, I think you do it. You play music from your heart, and you have compassion for those people, whether or not their ideology, with yours. And
can I jump in quickly? I want some clarification, if I can. Are you talking about, Tom? You talking about singing backup for or playing backup for religious albums or religious concerts, or the fact that many of the people who might be hiring and firing in the music business are religious people? And what's the challenge specifically?
I mean, for me, I tend to work with a lot of Episcopal and Catholic related churches, a lot of early music, Bach, that kind of thing. So I often find myself doing solo work with orchestras there. And the challenge is sometimes I find myself in these services. I work every 2-3 days a week at these churches, and often find myself getting, frustrated because of some of the views that get spoken at some of these services. And, it's hard because I'm dependent on this kind of thing. And I often find myself having to, it's so hard to censor yourself and keep yourself in a professional mindset when you're surrounded by such vastly different views that it can be quite frustrating at times.
You probably wrestle with yourself a little bit too. Like, there have been times when I have done video work, not as much now, but back in the day with a religious client, and I would think to myself, this is my job. I don't get to choose my job. Not really, right? This is part of my livelihood. My employer hired this client. They happen to be religious. I, as a professional, am supposed to serve them. But in my gut, I feel conflicted, like I'm such a freaking hypocrite. If I'd been a man of conviction, I would say, screw all of you guys. And I would throw I would throw the camera on the ground and stomp out and beat my chest in the yard. I mean, you know what I'm talking about? Do you ever feel that?
Every single week. Every single week.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Shelley,
hard if you're performing.
On that?
Oh, it's hard if you're performing as well, which is such a, you're giving of yourself, you're sharing of your skills. And it wouldn't be a nice feeling if you're doing it in an atmosphere that, feels really maybe harmful to you or frustrating. I guess you could look for have you had a look if there's any, communities that require music in your area that aren't religious?
It's hard to find them in the classical world. Obviously there's secular performances, but they're harder to get, especially as a student. Even as a graduate student, it's harder to compete with the older voices. So I end up at a lot of these church jobs because it's this Sunday, and it's like the one commitment of the week, you can do while you're in school, that pays well. So it's, I'm kind of stranded for at least the next couple of years until I finish graduate school.
Yeah. I had a friend, and his father. This is a nice story. It probably is not very common, but his father was an organ player, and he was like a staunch atheist. But he used to play every week for this church community. And after he passed away, I went to the ceremony. They had a memorial for him, and it was so beautiful. They said, we so appreciated this person coming and playing for us every week, and so even they didn't share our beliefs, so we're not going to pray for them. We're just going to have a memorial in respect of their beliefs and how much we love them being part of our community and service, which I thought was so amazing. I really didn't expect that. So there's that hopefully you can find people in the community. Do you get along with any of the people you work with?
Yeah, I'm in the process of transferring to a new church in Boston, but in my current church job back in Pennsylvania, I really kind of connected with a lot of the choir members who are also professional musicians, because there's the professional musicians are kind of separate from the church community for the most part. So we get along, and we kind of feel like the outsiders, but for the most part, the community is welcoming, but, I obviously don't go around saying my actual beliefs, because that would be not a smart idea.
Hey, thanks, Tom, for the addition to the show. It means a lot, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear that we did a show on Christian music. I was surprised at the people who work behind the scenes, these studio musicians, and they're non-believers, and yet they are hired to do a job for an artist who is singing about very religious things, and often things they consider to be damaging, and they're at this crossroads, right? Well, I'm a professional musician. I mean, in a perfect world, when it didn't have mouths to feed and bills to pay and a mortgage and a family and all these other obligations, then I could be an idealist. But there comes a point for some people where they think I've got to choose my battles, and this ain't it. And it's got to be very difficult for them, I would think. Not for you, though, right? You've never had to do that? No?
No, I mean, sometimes I feel that way when I'm here in Melbourne. I still do functions with my dad, and I have no problem playing at weddings. I love playing at weddings. It's a celebration, people's commitment to each other. Sometimes I struggle playing at bar mitzvahs because I know what the process has been. I've been through it myself, and I know that it's occasionally, depending on the level of religiosity of the family, there will be some indoctrination, and it is conflicting.
And you've got Shelley Segal, the Atheist album, for sale out in the lobby after the break. That's nice, yeah. All right, let me hear something. You don't have to play the whole new album for me, but give me something. I'd like to hear another tune from the record, which I think people can find out. Can they order it at shelleysegal.com yet,
yes,
or is there another place?
Can. It's available at shelleysegal.com, and that's a physical copy of that EP. And you can get a digital copy from Bandcamp or from any digital distributors, iTunes, Amazon. But Bandcamp's really good for independent artists.
Now, I'm always throwing the syllable on the second syllable. I'm always throwing the emphasis. Is it Segal or Segal?
It's Segal.
Shit. I've been doing it wrong for months. I don't know if it's like a Steven Seagal type of thing, but I everywhere I've gone, and when I always say it with the emphasis on the second syllable. And I'm just now on this live broadcast realizing, Shelley, that I've insulted you, and I've been saying your name incorrectly all of this.
Not at all.
I bow down before you and beg for your forgiveness. Shelley
Segal.
Segal.
No worries. Right. Thanks.
Grab something on the new album for me, would you?
Cool. So this is the single from the new album, and there's a matching video clip. This song is about is my reflections on the aesthetic expectations that are placed on us by society and the people around us. I wrote this song after a romantic liaison where the gentleman wanted me to change the way that I looked for them. And this is what I I came up with. So it's, we are visual creatures, and it's kind of accepting that aesthetic pressure that is placed on us, and the fact that whether or not we subscribe to society's expectations of us will impact our outcomes. But so I'm accepting that, but questioning whether it's something we can overcome. So this is called Sidelined.
You want a skinny lover. You want a skinny lover. So I find I have the wrong body. I have the wrong body. Even though I have the right mind. You want a skinny lover. You want a skinny lover, and that's perfectly fine. But it means you will always want some other body more than you want mine. More than you want mine. But this is familiar, it's who we've become. Slaves to aesthetic, this is the tune that we are. Can we change who we are? Can we remove the filter from over our hearts? If you're not beautiful, you'll be sidelined. Can we let go of our pride, of how we look on the outside? Anyways, I thought love was supposed to be blind. Be blind. You want a skinny lover. You want a skinny lover. And so I find I have the wrong body. Even though I am the perfect kind. This is familiar, it's who we've become. Slaves to aesthetic, this is the tune that we are. Can we change who we are? Can we remove the filter from over our hearts? If you're not beautiful, you'll be sidelined. Can we let go of our pride, of how we look on the outside? Anyways, I thought love was supposed to be blind. Be blind. For the first time in my life, I wish I was somebody else. All those bottles of teenage self-consciousness come tumbling down from the shelf. But this is familiar, it's who we've become. Slaves to aesthetic, this is the tune. This is the tune that we hum. Can we change who we are? Can we remove the filter from over our hearts? If you're not beautiful, you'll be sidelined. Can we let go of our pride, of how we look on the outside? Anyways, I thought love was supposed to be blind. Be blind. Be blind.
That's an amazing song. And I can think of about 1,000 people that need to hear it. You know what I'm saying? It's a culture where society creates a box and says, fit in this, right? And they miss so much beauty out there when they do that. It's just a beautiful song, amazing lyrics. You've gotten feedback on it already? Probably, yeah?
Yeah, it's been really positive. One of my favorite things that happened in response to this song, and I tell this at my gigs. I was at a gig in Ballarat, which is a town about an hour and a half out of Melbourne, and I played this song, and my father was on stage playing this song with me. And after we played it, after the set, a woman came up to me and she said, how much she liked the song and how much it resonated with her. and how, we just discount people because of how they look. And she said, for instance, take that violinist who was playing with you. He's not very attractive. He's a bit overweight. He's bald, but I could tell he was a very sensual man.
Wow.
And then she said, and I really liked him, and so did my friend. I was like,
No filter.
Cute.
No filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice. I think there's in my video clip for this song, I do like a full makeover, and I have the difference between a makeup girl and a non-made-up girl. And in the video, it's the girl that gets the makeover and has her hair done that picks up the guitar and leaves the house, because I'm accepting and realizing the fact that to have your voice heard and to make more of an impact, unfortunately, that's the way we are. You need to move closer to that box. And I've started wearing makeup recently when I haven't before, and it's kind of, I say I'm gonna break down gender, but it has to be an inside job. I think you have to dress up the part to
Well, do you have
down.
those conversations? Not to pry too deeply into your life, but I mean, you look in the mirror and do you say, I wish Shelley was this, or I wish Shelley was that, or do you find yourself making unrealistic comparisons to the airbrushed images that we see all over the place? And this is a common thing I hear from many people. I know it's certainly an issue with young women who are trying to emulate these impossible figures, impossible airbrushed faces that they see all over the place. I mean, do you ever have any of those conversations, or have you when you were younger?
Absolutely. I think it really depends. It depends on how you're feeling that day. Some days I look in the mirror and I'm so happy with what I see, and then some days I'm not. And I think that has to do with the way we perceive ourselves and the amount to which we are represented in the media around us. So I maybe this is a slightly different example, but I feel better about myself after watching a TV show like Orange is the New Black, and there's 20 strong female leads in that show, and they all have really varied personalities and really varied traits, and I actually feel empowered after watching it, because there's just so many different types of women, so you don't feel like, there's nothing here for me to aspire to, there's nothing here that's like me, there's nothing, it's not like that. There's just such a rich spectrum of female traits that you can say, I'm a bit like that, or you see yourself reflected. And I think, if you don't see yourself reflected in the media around you, you're going to feel like there's something wrong with you. And whether that's because you're, not a size 10, or you're not heterosexual, or you're not cisgendered, it's the way that not seeing yourself reflected makes you feel.
There's probably something about your music that provides real encouragement to the people who are having those conversations, isn't it? And you get those messages, yeah? I heard this song and I was like, you're singing about me, Shelley, right? Does it happen?
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about before. That's what makes you through, helps you get through whatever barriers you have if you feel like. One of my favorite comments I saw, someone said, "You're singing the way I see the world, and you make me feel beautiful." So I feel really beautiful sometimes, and I hope, I can express that and someone can hear that and feel beautiful too. That would absolutely make my day.
I have Andre who wanted to, is it a comment or question for Shelley tonight? Go ahead.
It's more of just a comment. Can you hear me all?
Sure.
Yeah,
great. So I just wanted to say, first of all, I hadn't heard of Shelley until I got an email from Seth this evening, and then I had a chance to listen to about 3 songs, watch 3 videos, and I thought that they were really well done. And I made a note earlier, you have a hell of a voice, and it's great to hear you sing also. Listening to and watching the videos, I was just so struck by your honesty, and it really touched me. And so I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to listen.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Shelley, who do you listen to? You know, when you don't have Shelley on the radio listening to yourself, critiquing your own work, when you're listening just to listen, who do you listen to?
Well, I've been listening at the moment to a lot of Sun Kill Moon. Is anyone familiar with his work? His name is Mark Kozelek. He's been writing for decades now. He had a band called the Red House Painters in the 90s. Then eventually now he's a solo artist. He still plays with a band, but his name is Sun Kill Moon. And he was in Almost Famous. He was the bass player in Almost Famous. And just an incredible writer, incredible artist. The song, it took a while to kind of, because it's very intense lyrics, a lot of reflection on childhood and these kind of, they're big themes to approach, and you need a lot of courage to approach them, and he does, and he's very very vulnerable, very open, very forthright, very beautiful. So I'm really kind of obsessed with him at the moment, and so is my whole household. I love Ani DeFranco. Doesn't matter what kind of a mood I'm in. If I put Ani on, I feel better and I feel empowered. She has such a way of putting her worldview and her politics and her ideology into her music. It's really, really incredible. I've never heard anyone else like her. That's something I want to be able to do, like not just share the way that you see the world, but create the world that you want to see through your music. So I love listening to Ani. So who else? There's a couple of Aussie, New Zealand artists that I'm really digging at the moment. Brighter Later and Tiny Ruins. They're very folky, like singer-songwriter kind of stuff.
Did you expect that? I mean, one thing about being an artist is that, you're going to be out there in front of people and you're going to have fans. But when you are an artist who is speaking to these really focused, free thoughts, atheist, anti-superstition, messages, and you are in some way helping people through their own journey, did you expect that shade of show business for you? Your email inbox isn't just, I love this album, it was amazing. It's, my parents shunned me and I heard this song. Or I looked in a mirror and I saw someone I thought was ugly and you reminded me that I was not. And I heard your music at this critical moment in my life, and it's helped me to take the next step. Did you expect that?
No, I definitely didn't expect it. But it's been, incredibly motivating and incredibly moving. And, it just makes you want to keep going and feel like you can keep going and feel like everything you're doing is worthwhile. Absolutely. Like another message I got from someone was about their daughter who had listened to fairies, and after learning the song decided that she wasn't afraid of the dark anymore.
That's just, who gets that kind of mail? I listen to your music and I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. I mean, that's a whole other song, Shelley. Just write it up. Just sing it for us tonight, would you?
And I feel so lucky to be an artist at a time where we can have this kind of communication, like I have a Facebook page and people can write to me and tell me about their experiences. There was an instance recently where one of my fans, their dog died, and he was really upset about it, and it was making me think about when my rat died, and so I wrote a song about his dog and how he felt and how I had felt, and I put up on Facebook and said, if anyone wants to send me a picture of their pet that they've lost, these are the words. If it resonates with you, send me a picture. And I got all these pictures of these beautiful animals, and I just put them up on YouTube with the video of the song. It's such a exciting time to be an artist and to be able to connect with people like that and make music for people that is a soundtrack for their lives. Like that's how I've always approached it, even in a wedding situation, and that's what I want to do. So it's pretty great to be able to get that feedback.
I've noticed your website's really interactive as well. You actually have a spot where people can just record something on the homepage and just send it to you. Is that right?
Yeah, you can leave a voice message. I love getting voice messages, and it's fun to reply. It's a bit like a walkie-talkie, like just easier than typing emails and really personal. So I like that. Feel free to leave me.
You just click the little microphone and you just leave her a message right there on the homepage. So Shelley's, and it's the extra E we might throw you, SHELLEY Segal SEGAL.com. Leave her a message and tell her she's amazing. Before I lose you tonight, can I do one more cut? You can pick it, old album, new album, whatever you want to do. Let's hear some more music before we call it a night, huh?
That sounds great. Thanks again, Seth, so much for having me.
No, it's been an honor. You're fantastic.
That you do. I'm not sure. Do you have is there any requests? I don't know.
Well, I hesitate asking you to do, I'm obviously curious about the new album, but I hesitate asking you to do too much live music because I know you're trying to sell the album. It's a whole other animal.
I'm happy either way.
I would love to hear something from the new record, so just pick something and go for it.
Sure. Sounds good. This is Morocco. We had a request for Morocco.
Morocco.
All right, we'll do that.
All right. We got a request from the chat room, so go for it.
So this song I wrote when I was traveling with my girlfriend in Marrakesh and Essaouira. And it was I was 19 and I was enjoying, being in a new country, a new place, and it felt so accessible to me as a tourist. It was such a fun time and everything was so colourful and beautiful, and there were, marketplaces and food, and also I used to have dreadlocks, and everyone was like, "Hey, Rasta, you want some hashish? You want some weed?" So everyone's kind of, trying to make your experience there very pleasant. And as it went on and I started to see what it was like for some of the people that lived there, maybe it wasn't such an easy escape type of environment to live in. And some of the people that were offering me this experience, and I started to see a contrast between what it was like for me as a tourist and my experience there, contrasted with what it was like for some of the locals, and started to question, well, what do I even need to escape from? What are my problems? And it was interesting when I released the song last year. A lot of people in Morocco took the song quite badly. They thought I was, denouncing the kingdom of Morocco. So it was an interesting experience too. It was in the Moroccan World News, and there was a lot of debate about it. But in the end, people, and I agreed with this perspective that it's nice to be able to talk about complicated topics through music, through an experience, and that's what I'm about. It's not not always so easy to have a conversation. I like to think that a song is like a 4-minute uninterrupted opinion. Anyway, I'll get to the song. I always talk.
Go ahead.
This is called Morocco.
When an old man came up to me, he said, "Rasta, come here, have a look what I got. Have a look, yeah, 'cause looking is free." I say, "Thanks, but no thanks. Didn't bring that much money. I'm gonna save it for the things that I need." He looks me up and down. He says with a smile, he says, "Rasta, do you wanna buy some weed?" He said, "Rasta, do you wanna go fly in the sky? Rasta, don't you want to get high and watch all your worries and your troubles pass you by? Rasta, don't you want to fly?" Hey, yeah. Hey, hey, yeah. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, yeah. Hey, hey, yeah. Hey, hey, hey. Jamming with the clan, we were traveling band, playing in Marrakesh Park just after
Shelley Segal. I know Haley, who, by the way, requested the song, is probably just smiling ear to ear. In fact, I think I see her. Hang on. Let's go back to Haley very quickly and give her a final moment in the spotlight. That one's just for you. It's going to be an amazing time, hopefully an amazing rest of year for you and the album. Shelley, SHELLEYSEGAL.com. See the website. Leave her a voicemail. Buy the album. Support this woman. Shelley, you're singing how we see the world and you make us feel beautiful. Just like the email said. Thanks for being a part of the broadcast tonight. Thanks for sharing your talent with the audience. And I will see you hopefully on the road soon, and we'll get the word out about Strange Feeling, okay?
Cool. Thanks so much, Seth. Really appreciate it.
It's been a real honor. Been one of the probably my favorite shows of the year so far. Fantastic. Huge thanks out to our show sponsor tonight, naturebox.com/Thinking Atheist. You can log on tonight and check them out. And thanks for supporting the broadcast. ShelleySegal.com to find out more about the album. I will see you next week on the Thinking Atheist radio podcast. Take it easy.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter. Watch dozens of original videos on the Thinking Atheist YouTube channel. And visit our website for resources, links, contact information, the editor's blog, and more. TheThinkingAtheist.com.